Well, that's more like it, isn't it? The Nashville Predators break their 5-game losing streak, and they do it with a big exclamation point at the end. Predators beat the Blues 6-2 at Bridgestone Arena. We'll talk about what went right for the Preds finally on today's Locked On Predators.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free Nashville Predators daily podcast, available wherever you get your podcast and, of course, on YouTube. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at ontheforecheck.com, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I am Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and editor at InsideThePreds.com.
We also have a sponsor for today's show. Today's show brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And it feels like the season has started for the Nashville Predators. A big 6-2 win over the St. Louis Blues. A win I feel like Smashville desperately needed.
Yeah, this was one of those ones where everything was a little bit clinched, especially after that first minute when they scored. But look at Nashville putting it together, 6-2 win. And this was like a great 60-minute, complete, well-executed game. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
There is some important things about how the Predators won this game, especially later in the game. And of course, there's a lot you and I need to talk about, though. But let's run through it real quick. The Nashville Predators, of course, as Ann said, 1 minute in, gave up a goal. It seemed a little hairy after that. Tanner Jeannot tied it late in the period. Braden Shen got a 2-1 advantage for the Blues early in the second, but then the old floodgates opened at Bridgestone Arena. Michael McCarron, Zach Sanford scored at the end of the second period, and then goals by Ryan Johansson, Roman Josi, and Mikael Granlund gave the Preds 5 straight scores, and the Predators wound up winning the game 6-2. And what is your one word to describe last night's 6-2 win?
Oh, this one was so amazing. This game really felt great after, the end of the first period. And it was one that the Nashville Predators and I think the Nashville Predators fans really needed. This was the palate cleanse that we've been waiting for 5 games. And, it was a sweet victory, but it also, like, the Predators won it with like a little bit of an edge to it. Like, this was some good identity hockey. And so my one word is Fresca. Okay. Now, see, here's what's real about me. Pie is my primary love language. My secondary love language is Fresca. So Fresca, in case somebody doesn't know, let me change your life for you. It is a sparkling soda water, but it is grapefruit citrus flavored if you get the real Fresca, the original flavor. And it's like when you want something sweet, like water is not going to cut it. Water's not going to cut it. You want something sweet, but you don't want something heavy and citrusy or heavy and like soda, So you grab yourself a Fresca and like you get this like palate cleanse with a little punch to it because it's grapefruit. This was a Fresca game from start to finish. Like, it was exactly what the Nashville Predators needed. No, just coming out and sort of going through the motions was not going to get it done, because not only did they need the win for 2 points, they needed to reestablish themselves. They needed to kind of make a statement. And that is exactly what they did with this game. And they did it with a little zhuzh. Like, they did it with a little grapefruit citrus flavor. So for me, this was a Fresca win, 100%.
So Fresca is different than like a LaCroix, right?
It's so much better than a LaCroix, yeah.
Is there more flavor?
Like more flavors available?
No, I mean,
or
like,
more flavor in it.
Like, is there more flavor in it than LaCroix? Okay, good.
Yeah, but it's not super syrupy.
Okay, I've seen like the jokes about LaCroix where it's like the flavors are like strawberry adjacent or like
Yeah.
the edge of a lime, like that
Yeah.
kind of joke. And I'm making sure that's not Fresca.
Oh my gosh, Fresca is so much better. Fresca is my go-to for everything, like except for breakfast. I mostly drink Fresca. I put Fresca here, full disclosure, I put Fresca in wine.
Sure. I mean, I've heard that before.
So good. So good. Fresca, just refreshing, sweet, exactly what you need for a palate cleanse. Fresca and the Nashville Predators, like two things that should be together in some sort of advertising platform.
Yeah. To make it clear, we're not sponsored. This podcast is not sponsored by Fresca, but this is your audition, Fresca. If you're listening, I feel like
I can talk for days.
Yeah, I feel like you just put out a pretty good marketing like pitch there.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, maybe you and I can pocket some extra change on this one.
I mean, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So what is your one word to describe this game?
It feels like you and I are kind of on the same page about this being a cleanser. My one word is Pepto-Bismol. Because here's the thing, Anne. Those previous 5 games, little bit of heartburn, a little bit of indigestion. Something is, it's just not sitting right. It's not going down. It just makes me feel like easy. So you reach for this game, the Pepto-Bismol game. You take a couple shots of that, and all of a sudden you're feeling a little bit of relief. You're feeling like, okay, I can be normal. That's what this game was for the Nashville Predators. Mm-hmm. Those 5 games, even though in, probably every game except the Dallas games, there was a few things that to like about the Preds in those games they lost. It just didn't sit well that we didn't get in the W column. And last night, this was sort of a culmination of, to me, it felt like everything the Preds had been doing right, fixing the things that were going wrong, and seeing it through till the very end of the game. And to me, this is like, this is how the Preds should have played. And the fact that it came against a hated division rival, a team you and I think are going to compete with the Predators for spots in the Central Division standings at season's end. It's just a little bit of a load off. It's just like a little bit of relief. The uneasy stomach is settling. The heartburn's gone away, and it's more like, okay, we can breathe. We can breathe. We can relax. We can exhale because things are gonna be fine. The Preds don't suck. This is one of the things that the Preds can do when they are firing on all cylinders.
Yes, I love that analogy. That's actually fantastic because it has been, games of nausea, heartburn, indigestion, a little bit of everything really leading up. Diarrhea. I mean, like it has been a little bit of everything, and Pepto-Bismol cures a number of things. So I agree with you. That's a great one. Now, here's my question about Pepto-Bismol. Totally off topic hockey, but I have to know: do you measure it when you drink it, or just drink it?
You pour it in the cup, don't you? Like the little.
I'm asking.
Shot glass.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you measure it out?
That's what you're supposed to do, right? Do you not? Do you just take swigs from a Pepto-Bismol bottle? Is that a normal thing?
No, don't do it, friends. But I'm just saying that was Pepto-Bismol. It's not a good idea, but I know so many people. I have a friend who does not measure her Pepto-Bismol. Just chugs it. So I didn't know if that was normal for my friend.
I don't think so. I think that it actually needs some more nausea, heartburn, indigestion, and all that good stuff.
Well, she doesn't hit it hard. But
I don't picture her like Jim Morrison with a bottle of Jack Daniels on stage, just swaggering around the house whenever she has Chili's Rancheros and swinging it back.
Yeah. No, it's not like that.
Yeah, but it feels like you shouldn't just take
You
like
shouldn't.
5 sips from the.
Yeah.
I
You
don't know.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk hockey, shall we?
We should.
There's a lot that went right for the Predators. There's a couple of things you and I talked about yesterday as keys to the game that the Predators really hit on. So I want to talk about that and look ahead to the Preds' next handful of games. But first, I want to mention again, today's show is brought to you by Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for betting all the new hockey this season. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game out there. And of course, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting, up-to-the-minute scores, props, odds, and lines. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on your favorite games and events. NFL and college football are in full swing. We got basketball starting up, both pro and college. World Series, of course, in full swing. MMA, boxing, golf, soccer, pretty much every sport you can imagine. BetOnline has something for you. So make sure you head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Ann. There was a lot that stood out in this game last night. What do you think is one big thing in your mind that the Predators did extremely well?
Here's the thing that I think that they did extremely well, and it's probably not something that's going to be super impressive across the league, but I think it's the secret sauce, one of the elements of the secret sauce for the Predators, and that's that this was a team that just scored themselves some greasy goals. Like this was not necessarily Zach Sanford had what I would say was a highlight reel goal with a wraparound goal. And that was highlight reel. But most of these goals are not going to make anybody's top 10 list. They were fat rebounds that somebody found and put back in. They were net front. They were, hey, I'm kind of losing my balance, but here's the puck. I'm going to make it happen. Like this was a game where Nashville really was like, you know what? We're not going to go for style points. We're not going to try to do more than we need to do. We're going to get where we need to be, and we're going to convert on any sort of rebound opportunities. And I really thought that was the key to Nashville's success. I think sometimes you forget that goals that are not attractive are worth just as many points as goals that, that are. And so I feel like they were net front, they were fighting for the puck, they were tracking the puck, they were really committed to just, look, we're going to get this puck in the net no matter what happens. And so for me, that was huge for the Predators last night.
It's interesting. So ESPN put out a stat during coverage of the game. Predators had 3 goals that were scored directly off rebounds. So like the rebound, they just batted home the rebound and went in. They scored 3 of those. It's the first time they've had 3 direct rebound goals in a game since 2018. So I don't know if that says more about Thomas Greiss or the Blues' inability to clear the front of the net, but I agree. It does say something that the Predators were there, that they were in the right spot, because we've seen some of those chances earlier this year where there's been a juicy rebound or a juicy deflection, and it's just, the players just aren't kind of at the net. The Preds last night were at the net.
For sure.
And one thing, Ann, that really stood out to me, and there's a lot that stood out to me, we needed to see the front line get going. Like we really needed to see big games from the big stars. That was one of our keys yesterday. You look at the stat sheet, Philip Forsberg, 3 points, all assists. Matt Duchene, 3 points, all assists. Roman Josi, goal and 2 assists for 3 points. This was, to me, really the first time that the Predators' big guns actually look like big guns.
Yeah, this is one of those things that just has not been rolling for the Nashville Predators, basically since they got back from North America. The big players have been cold. Roman Josi, such a fantastic game last night. He did so many things right. And one goal, like you said,
also.
Oh, just all around fantastic game that we haven't quite seen Josi put together, since the beginning of the season. A goal, 2 assists, but he had so many great, just great passes. He had some great moves. Like you said, defensively, he was exactly where you need your star defenseman to be playing. And, for me, Matt Duchene, 3 assists in the third period. Thank you. Hallelujah. Yeah, it was a great game. Ryan Johansson had a goal. Like, I think finally we're like, okay, last season wasn't necessarily a fluke. People were maybe starting to wonder, like, okay, wait a minute. No, last season wasn't a fluke. When we can get these guys going, they can produce. And so, yeah, that was huge, huge for the Nashville Predators. They were not going to be able to win a lot of games this season if their big guys did not produce.
Yeah, agreed. So a big thing going into last night's game, of course, the Predators kind of hit the line blender for the first time. You and I kind of previewed the defensive pairings and defensive changes. Before the game, we got word that the Preds were going to kind of shuffle some things up. The traditional top line of Granlund, Duchene, and Forsberg split up kind of. Ryan Johansson moved up to center that line. We had Mikael Granlund moving to wing opposite Nino Niederreiter, and Cody Glass moves up the lineup to the top 6. What did you make of Cody Glass's performance and the performance of that line last night?
It was funny, of all of the lines, when at the end of the game, of all of the lines that you look to and say, how did they do offensively? That was probably one of the quietest lines. Granlund, his goal was an empty net goal. Cody Glass really did not stand out so much in the game. In the third period, he did not take very many shifts. John Hynes was asked about it in the post game, and I don't think this is any surprise to anybody who follows a John Hynes team. John Hynes says, look, if you've got players that are playing hot, you put those guys out on the ice. And for instance, Cole Smith, who I know a lot of people are not, maybe not yet on the Cole Smith bandwagon. Cole Smith had a fantastic game. He was really, he was producing offensively. He was creating chances. He was defensively playing very responsibly. So he bumped up to play with, I think he was up with Niederreiter and Granlund at one point in the third period. So it was maybe not the debut in the top 6 that Cody Glass would have liked. Certainly didn't do anything glaringly wrong, but I think this was just a game where you had some other people that were really on it and on top of it. And with John Hynes, I mean, he's very upfront about it. Like, if you are playing, if you're producing, if you're doing what I need to do, you play the hot hand. And so didn't see as much of Glass. I don't think that's going to speak anything over him in his future, but didn't see a lot from him and didn't see a lot from Nino.
It seems like John Hynes kind of picks and chooses what qualifies as a hot hand.
Really? You think so?
Let me just say that. Let's
elaborate.
Let's frame the discussion with that. But here, I will say Cole Smith last night, one of the underrated stars of the game. He got 2 assists, so he got on the score sheet. But really, all around, his game was really good. I think it was the one of the it was either the Michael McCarron or the Zach Sanford goal that he, kind of had an aggressive forecheck. And I think it was McCarron because he wound up not getting on the score sheet for that one. But it was his play, like really aggressive forecheck, kind of forced them into a mistake. And it was one of those plays where it's like, it's not going to show up as an assist or anything like that, but his play, his positioning kind of caused that to happen. So I thought all around he played a really good game. But let's talk about the rest of that fourth line too. Zach Sanford with an absolutely brilliant goal.
Oh gosh.
That would wound up being the game-winning goal. That put the Preds up 3-2 late in the second, just like that beautiful little wraparound play. As we mentioned, Michael McCarron had the game-tying goal halfway through. That was his first of the year. And I mean, we talked about it yesterday, how it seemed like the Blues, they're missing a few players. There's some depth. There's a car right outside my window that has its brights on. It's just
I didn't know if they were gonna beam you up or what, like your light changed. Like, taking him.
I feel like this is like America's Most Wanted spotlight or something like that.
Yeah.
Neighbors are great. Anyway, Michael McCarron, Zach Sanford. Those are guys we talked about yesterday. The Preds needed to kind of take advantage of St. Louis's lack of depth here, and they did. I mean, yeah, it was the Herd line contributed too because they had a goal as well, but it was really that fourth line that kind of stole the show, Ann.
They did. And, there's been a lot of rumblings in the Pred sphere about the fourth line and maybe, why are we constructing it with the people we were? Why is it Cole Smith? Oh, dear heavens, Michael McCarron. Look, Michael McCarron, if somebody would have handed him a cigar in the post game, he would have smoked that and sung the How Do You Like Me Now country song because he was living his best life in that post game. And he played so well. The combination of McCarron and Smith and Sanford went out and did exactly what John Hynes wanted that fourth line to do. Hynes is so big on line identity. This was a line that's like, go out there, get the puck, harass them, be physical, get some turnovers, win the board battles. That's exactly what the fourth line went out and did. And then offensively produced. It was sort of like their coming out party for that fourth line, and they've had a rough go. I mean, the depth scoring hasn't always been exactly what Nashville has wanted so far this season. So I think it helps to see how they can execute consistently for 60 minutes in a game to go, okay, John Hynes is not totally crazy with the whole Cole Smith thing. He's not crazy, y'all.
And nobody really accused John Hynes of being crazy.
Not of being crazy, but they wanted him to not
they
have
wanted
his
John
job.
Hynes. They disagreed with his fundamental, I guess, his assessment of the roster. I should say.
That's the nicest thing you've said about. That's the nicest translation of like the Twitter vibe I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, let's leave it at that, shall we? More to get to from this game. A couple other players that I want to highlight. One in particular that I thought made a very good play that kind of put the game away. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah, there's still plenty to talk about this amazing 6-2 Predators win. And of course, got to look ahead, got a game this weekend, and we're going to do that as well. First, want to tell you about our friends at Simply Safe. Look, the numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million, that's million people have chosen Simply Safe home security to protect their home. And look, you don't earn the trust of that many people without doing your job right. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology. It is powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. Simply Safe uses advanced and convenient technology, whether it's controlling your system from your phone with the app or watching the crystal clear HD live stream of your security cameras or the wide variety of high-tech sensors. With 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat's detected, and they will dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you are not home or can't be reached. Simply Safe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, every window, every door. HD security cameras for inside and outside of your home. They have smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real. They even have hazard sensors that instantly detect things like fires, floods, or other threats to your home. And their monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when a break-in is real, so you can get the highest priority police dispatch. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. You'll save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan, and you get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
All right, Ann. So the Preds beat the St. Louis Blues 6-2, snapped the 5-game losing streak. Somebody we haven't really talked about yet, but one other player, Ann, that I really want to highlight, Jeremy Lauzon, because I think he had a very underrated game last night. We saw him step up on the penalty kill because Dante Fabro, of course, took 2 of the 3 Predators penalties in the game. So he was unable to be on the short end of time. So in comes Jeremy Lauzon and had 3 very solid minutes of shorthanded time. I thought played very, very well in that short minutes or that the shorthanded span. I also want to highlight the goal that led to the Predators going up 4-2. And our friend Alex Doherty actually put this this play on Twitter with a nice shout out to Lauzon. But Lauzon made a very good kind of no-look breakout pass that started that entire rush. He didn't get credit for it because Matt Duchene and Philip Forsberg were the 2 guys that set up Johansson's goal. But that play out of the zone, that was a very underrated play that got that chance going. And, with that being like right at the start of the third period, I feel like that kind of just chopped off those Blues chances right there.
Yeah, I thought Jeremy Lauzon had a really good game. I think everybody had a good game, but it was nice to see Lauzon have that game because I think there have been a couple of times in earlier games where just you kind of had to wonder, okay, is he where the Predators need him to be, especially now that Mark Borowiecki is out with injury? I like that John Hynes tinkered with the defensive pairings and ended up putting kind of a veteran with a younger guy. I thought that worked really well. I know that, Ryan McDonagh maybe didn't imagine coming in and playing on a third defensive pair, but, McDonagh and Lauzon both had some really great standout defensive plays together last night. And I wonder, I don't know, I mean, maybe John Hynes is onto something, but I thought that was an interesting choice by Hynes, and it put Ekholm kind of back on his more traditional side defensively. I don't know. Hynes hasn't said, for sure whether it's going to stay this way or kind of what's going to happen going forward, but it was a bold move.
Stay this way for the next game, at least.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bold choice to kind of break up what everybody had imagined for the Ekholm McDonagh pairing. But I think it worked really well. I thought Lauzon looked great. McDonagh looked great. And so I think, Hynes may be onto something. There may be something there. So, Lauzon, great game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see it like as a demotion for McDonagh or anything like that. I mean, McDonagh played the second most ice time of any Pred last
night.
Just under 22 minutes. I think this is more about, hey, let's get McDonagh let's get, Ekholm back on his natural side. Let's move McDonagh down to, somebody a little bit more inexperienced. And I agree. I think it worked. And I think now you have, you're not having to worry about your bottom defensive pair anymore. You're not having to be like, ooh, this is a pairing that I can only trust for maybe 15, 16 minutes a game. Like you kind of were at the end of last year and what you kind of had been in years past. Now you have basically a top 5, like a really solid top 5 that you're like, these are 3 lines. These are 3 guys I can put on the ice on that left side and trust that they're going to make big plays when I need them to. And that kind of spread the wealth kind of thing. You're not putting Roman Josi out for 28 minutes a game. You're not putting Matthias Ekholm out for, 25 minutes a game. You're saving them for when you really need them to. And you can play all 3 pairings in critical minutes. And I think that's what last night showed. And I think that's what this move, it helps achieve what John Hynes wants to achieve in that regard. One more thing, Anne, is I gotta highlight the third period for the Preds because this was our big key yesterday. We talked about how the Preds had basically just been shellacked in third periods of games this season. It has not gone well at all. They got better as the game went on, and I think that is nothing to overlook. Like, they got better. Third period, 17 shots on goal. They did not take their foot off the gas. They absolutely throttled in the third period. That is exactly what we said yesterday was the key to what we wanted to do.
Yep, floor that sucker for 60 minutes, and the Predators did that. And, they've had 2 games where they went in with a 3-1 lead in the third period and lost those games. So it was really great to see them put together 60 minutes of high pressure offense. There were so many things that looked great in this. It was 60 minutes of, good offensive pressure. It was responsible defense. St. Louis had a couple of extended offensive zone times here and there in the game, but it certainly was not overwhelmingly in their favor. And I think things like zone exits got cleaned up in this game for the Nashville Predators. It was a game where I feel like we could walk away. And I think some people in St. Louis may say, well, if Binnington had been in net, because Grice did let some juicy rebounds out. But this was a game where I feel like Nashville overall played so well. I don't think that would have really changed much about this game. Nashville was humming for 60 minutes of this game. It was great.
Yeah.
It was so great.
It was. And I think that's the important thing to take away. You kind of hit on it. It's really easy to look at this and say, it's like, okay, it was one game against a backup goalie. Against a team that, played back-to-back. Playing the second half of the back-to-back has not mattered for opponents of the Nashville Predators in the past. See the LA Kings. And I also think that, it's important to look at how the team plays.
Yes.
You know what? The Predators did do a lot very well against Columbus. They did a lot well against Philadelphia. They just made some critical mistakes. Again, we mentioned this at the top of the show. They took all those things that were going well, ramped it up, really honed in on that, and then more importantly, cleaned up the mistakes. This was a complete game from start to finish. The Predators absolutely dominated the entire course of the game. And I think that itself, more so than the final score. Final score feels good. It feels good back in the win column. Do not get me wrong. But more important to me is how the Predators played. And the Predators played great. And I think, obviously now you have to do it again. You got Washington at home on Saturday, which that's never an easy game. Then you got Edmonton, a team where the Predators have been absolutely horrid against in recent years. And you got Calgary, who is looking like a real Stanley Cup threat yet again, maybe even a little better than they were last year. So the Preds, they're going to have to prove it. But last night's game maybe restored confidence just a little bit as to this is what this team can be for the rest of the season when they're firing on all cylinders.
Yes. Yeah. You have to feel much better going into this next stretch of games against these teams coming up than you would have coming off of any of the earlier games, because this was what Nashville Predators can bring to the ice for 60 minutes. And it's gonna go well. I mean, it's gonna stand up well against a lot of teams. We'll see how they do. Saturday night against the Capitals, Alex Ovechkin coming in. Darcy Kemper is like, he's like Nashville kryptonite. Get out of here, dude. I'm sure you're nice, but take it elsewhere. So let's get a win over the Caps and Darcy Kemper and Alex Ovechkin on Saturday night. I think that would be huge. And the way they played, you know what? They can make it a game for sure.
Yeah, Kemper will be wearing those eye goggles whenever Ryan Johansson's around.
That was awful.
It was. Hey, he worked out. He won a Stanley Cup.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, you guys can listen to the Locked On Predators podcast wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey, any of that. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. We put these out 5 days a week. And of course, we're on YouTube. Just search Locked On Predators on YouTube. If you are watching this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, but also the bell notification. That'll notify you whenever we put out new content. Also, just drop us a comment. Say hi. Let us know what you thought about the show, the game, any of that. We will be happy to hear from you. Anne, where can the fine people find your work?
You can find my work at InsideThePreds.com, and you can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
I'm Nick Morgan. You can follow me at ontheforecheck.com or on Twitter at _NSMorgan. If you are watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button again. Subscribe wherever you get And if you're a Twitter person, be sure to follow the podcast itself at LO_Predators. Tweet us, say hi. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you, as always, for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back Monday with Plus Minus and a special Halloween episode. We'll see you then.